Oh, I guess we had additional questions in here. Would it be a good idea to put S3 ID in our ID schema section, or would it be better to leave it out so competitors don't find it? Put it there. I mean, if you don't put your ID page in, then how is Google going to know to go to your ID page if you're not designating that as your ID page? Am I right in saying that, Marco?
Well, yeah, I don't understand why you wouldn't. And that idea is you're giving it an identification, right? That's your node identifier. Why would you not identify that? Like, see, with this, what comes to mind is like we don't care about the competition. We could give a crap about what they do. We just go and focus on how we do things correctly. Because once you start out, you'll be so far ahead of the competition. By the time they're catching up, you'll be forward in something else. That's why it's so crucial to like be on the leading edge, on the cutting edge of all this. Like I understand schema app and all that shit, but the place where you're gonna get what's working right now is in the heavy hitter club.
Oh, I agree with
It's
that.
through our teaching and how we show you what is not only teaching, the education that you get, the examples that you get through the way we show you how to manipulate schema. Because it's not just using schema, it's manipulating it and stacking it in such a way that your competition becomes it's worryless SEO for a reason. Not only do we not worry about Google and Google updates and everything else that Google is trying to throw at you, we don't care about the competition because we only focus on what we do. We focus on doing the things that we do, creating the system, putting it in place, and letting that take over. And over time is when you start seeing these ridiculous things happen where you can rank in 90 days for pet food. Oh, like who does that? Where you can get displays in GMB for the keyword pet. Who else is doing that right now? But it happens because there's a system in place, and if you just go and use Schema app without everything else that it entails, without focusing on the entity correctly, without getting your on-site correct, without getting the off-site correct, so that everything works. It's a big piece of the puzzle, and you put that last piece of the puzzle in, and now you can enjoy the work. You can enjoy the fruits of the labor. But the only way that can happen is by putting all of these different pieces together. Going and doing the ad ID is fine, and creating that node identifier for all of this information is fine. But it's how you replicate all of these across the web. It's how we present the entity and the supporting entities, the named entity, the supporting entities, sub-entities, and everything else that we're pushing at Google, so that when the bot comes in and looks at the data that we're feeding it, we become the best answer for whatever query it is that we're after. That's what we do. We establish ourselves as the best, and as not only the best entity, but the best answer for whatever it is that we're after. Which is how 5 years later, the guy in DC Plumber, his phone is still ringing off the hook. I just looked at his analytics and his search console, and it's ridiculous what's happening, and all of that before we even knew exactly what it was that we were doing. Now we know. Now we know exactly what it is. Back then we were testing and looking and seeing, and yes, we were working with entities and brands and putting all of these little pieces of the puzzle. We were getting the patents, getting the information, doing the math. Now we know, and now we're focused, and we share all of this in the Heavy Hitter Club and nowhere else. I mean, yes, go and create your node identifier, but that's only one small piece of a much bigger puzzle.
Yeah, and just to clarify, when I mention like Schema app as a good resource, I totally agree with what Marco said. Schema app, I've learned more about like the concept of structured data and like connected data items and things like that from training that I've got from Schema app. But again, it's very specific to how to use their tool. So I've learned some high level conceptual like understandings of schema from Schema app. But as far as how to put all those different pieces of the puzzle together in a way that gets results, that's not something that like Schema app training teaches. It's putting together, it's applying what I've learned from Marco and Rob and some of our other mastermind members and the POFU live event that we had. And so it's all of those pieces combined. And that's what Marco's saying is, I think it's still important to get an understanding of schema on a higher level, But then as far as how to put it together in an effective way and apply what you know in a way that's going to get results, that's a different story. And that's where, again, Heavy Hitter Club is the place for that. Those guys, it makes my head spin sometimes. And I've been doing SEO for about a decade now. So anyways, I would encourage you to go join there if you really want to figure it out. We're going to keep moving.